tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
All right, good morning, folks. It's Froggy, your host. I'm kidding. It's me. It really is me. But in the mornings, I need to be like a musician. Where you get up and you do vocal exercises in the morning. It'll soon start sounding more normal here in a second, folks. A little bit of a late start. Can I just tell you? I need to adjust this. Someone is always messing with my stuff. There we go. Good morning, everyone. It's Friday. And not only is it Friday, but it is the last day of the month. Let me find out if we're having a press briefing today. I haven't heard a word. We seem to be very coy with those details now. So we've got a number of days without any positives. So let's continue in that trend. Breakfast this morning is a banana and some water. And when I get off air, I don't know what else. Breaking news. A young man died last night at the Frank Sound fire station. So very sad. I mean, I just saw his picture and he looks super young. And I mean, all we can do right now is just, condolences to his family. Yeah, it's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. Your heart's always heavy. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know, when people are especially young and there's kind of like no logical explanation why, it's just always such a shocker. Well, I'm sure hear more details as we go along. We have received a photo of the young man. I don't yet have a name, but contrary to what people think, we do wait before we post the identities of people. It's just that it's never long enough for the people who are obviously hurting by the loss of their loved ones. So we'll try to get more information on that. Evelyn, good morning to you. Hi, Michelin. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sophia, good morning. Beautiful Cayman Islands. Keep safe this weekend. Yes, Morna, it is Friday, and it is also a beautiful day. Olivia, thank you. And Miss Janet, Catherine, Alice, Jake is here for it. No press briefing scheduled as yet, which probably means that there won't be one. Hi, Krista. Thank you for tuning in. Sora, I haven't seen you in a while. Larry, beautiful. Thank you, Morna, for noticing this lipstick. Good morning, Sean. Beautiful good morning to everyone in the Bay Islands. So you all know that silly season is already started in terms of political candidates, right? People running for political office. Excuse my manners while I eat my banana. I do feel that once I get started in the morning, almost immediately now I have to eat something. Okay, just need a little bit of energy to get going. It's not like back in the day when you could when you were younger, you could like go all day and not eat anything. Although I was always warned that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Remember Aunt Lottie's pearls of wisdom? She always said, eat like a king in the morning. How's that saying? Eat like a king. And then eventually you end up eating like a pauper for dinner, whatever. So your breakfast is your most important meal of the day. You should eat, as much as you need to. Obviously, of the right foods. And that helps fuel you for the day. So you got the energy to get done what you need to get done. So silly season, as we like to call the political season, has already started. There are candidates who are getting themselves ready for political office. So this morning I was not surprised when I got word. Someone was saying to me that they had gone back and they were watching the show yesterday morning. And they said, oh, that's ironic because the person on that show, Katina, that you were talking about, has this organization called something civics, Christian civics, something or another, where apparently she's both the chairperson and the PR person. And she takes a very anti-homosexual stance. The person mentioned how they thought that it was ironic that she's actually planning on running in the 2021 election. And I said, oh, goody. Because clearly people who can't do anything else, that's what they do. They run for political office. So if you're unemployed, you can't find a job, you have no other skills, you can't really contribute anything but hate speech to the community, I guess you go to church, and that qualifies you then to have at least 10 people that would vote for you in an election. So congratulations to all of those persons who decide to clutter up the electoral ballot come May the 26th, 2021, because then that means that perhaps more qualified individuals will lose by 5, 10, or 15 votes. Good morning, Louis. Thank you for joining us. Louis says, happy Friday morning. Beautiful day here in Detroit, as it is in the beautiful Cayman Islands, and it is really quite a nice day. There is a storm that is heading, a hurricane actually, that's heading to the Bahamas. It went a little bit under radar because it's not, I guess, headed in our direction. But this hurricane's name is, I think we're pronouncing this, Isacius. I don't even know where they come up with these names from, but it's a hurricane and it is headed towards the Bahamas. And so those poor people in the Bahamas, my gosh, the last thing that they need actually is a hurricane, another hurricane. We've been so wonderfully blessed, and I think we should all be thankful that after Hurricane Ivan, we have not seen another storm since then. I don't even think we've had a Category 1 since Hurricane Ivan, which I think is amazing, right? Of course, we have to continue to be vigilant. That's no reason to sit back and be complacent. So it looks like this hurricane has a projected path of Nassau, Bahamas. And those islands are obviously going to start bracing for that. At this time, I think they're going to have about 3 hours where they're going to start having some noticeable weather in relation to this. But right now, the winds are at, let me just see if I can see what the fine print here says. What? This is so strange. The National Hurricane Center, sometimes they have so much detailed information. It's hard to just pick out the summary. So it says some areas are going to be experiencing winds of at least 39 miles per hour. I'm just trying to get how powerful this hurricane is. I think she is still a Cat 1. Okay, give me 1 second here and I shall tell you. Yeah, so everyone is keeping an eye, anyone who's in the projected path is certainly keeping an eye on this storm. Yeah, she's a Category 1 storm, and she's likely to move over the Bahamas on Friday, which is today, moving close to Florida's east coast, and then heading up the northeast. So the center of the hurricane, now we have a pronunciation of her name because her name is different as hurricanes go. You know, they pick all sorts of names for hurricanes, right? So it is pronounced East. How do they phonetically have this? Isas. Okay. Could someone not pick a better, easier name to pronounce? But anyway, she's about 15 miles southwest, of the Great Antigua Island, according to the National Hurricane Center. Maximum sustained winds near 80 miles per hour. So they're expecting her to be near central Bahamas on Friday and move near over the northwestern Bahamas and near or east of the Florida Peninsula on Saturday, which is tomorrow, and Sunday. So obviously they will be watching the storm closely. It has the potential to impact the Carolinas by Monday before arriving along the northeast coast region sometime on Tuesday going into Wednesday. So they don't know yet when it starts to reach that area what the strength will be, but they're clearly following the trajectory and intensity of this storm. So stay tuned. We will continue to bring you any sort of breaking information on that. You know, it's crazy when you say, well, gosh, thank goodness it's only a Category 1, because a Category 1 can still do a lot of damage. But obviously, it is way better than a Cat 4 or 5 or 3. So we become grateful for the little things in life, folks. All right, Robert, good morning. Yes, thank you so much for that information. I see Robert was telling us it was a 80 miles per hour Category 1 storm. Carol says it's raining in West Bay. Really? Because, gosh, I'm looking at the window and it's like an absolutely gorgeous day. Let me look at the clouds. So I see a little bit of breeze. I always know because my neighbor has a beautiful, huge mango tree. And that is swaying in the wind. So it's a little breezy, looks like. But yeah, there's a couple of the nice little fluffy clouds. I don't know what they're called. I can't remember from school what they're called. But you know, the ones that are super beautiful, look like you just want to fall into them. There's a few of those in the sky, but other than that, it's pretty clear. Jake says, don't be like the minister and butcher it. Well, listen, this is a hard name. Like if I hear it once, I'm pretty sure it's a Spanish name, and it's spelled Isaias. So, I mean, I would think I mean, I got to think about this one for a second, but maybe Isasis. I don't know. That would probably be my best guess at it. But unlike the minister, I'm not going around trying to talk in tongues and trying to impress anybody with speaking 1,000,001 foreign languages. So good morning to Wendy. She's loving the rain, so she must be in West Bay. Larry says it's raining in New York, having tea with brown sugar. Hi, Larry. Primrose, good morning to you, darling. What? It started to rain in East End too? Really? Huh. Maybe Savannah is going to get left out of the rain today. I don't know. Or it just hasn't rolled in yet. Jake says maybe Isaiah, but with an S. No, I think it's a different pronunciation completely. Isasis. Hi, Debbie. So yes, we have some news that we're going to be putting up here this morning about the situation in West Bay. About the Mendoza family. This guy earns a title officially as Jackass of the. Definitely, he's beyond Jackass of the Year. He's like Jackass of the decade. Yeah. He's been blocking and terrorizing the Mendoza family for the better part of 5 years now. And you know, thank God that finally last night the police have done something meaningful. So if you've not been keeping up with this story, this guy has been, the bottom line is he bought some property and the property had an existing right of way. It was like a prescriptive right of way. So people have been using it for like 30 something years, 40 years, whatever. And so here comes Johnny Lately, AKA Will Mendoza. And he feels like he can just ignore that prescriptive right that the other homeowners have enjoyed and start to block them. Now, the irony of the situation is when Mendoza purchased the property, he was well aware of the right. And in fact, he got a discounted price because of it. So what the right of way has done is it splits his property a little bit, where part of his property is the access way, and that's no longer part of his property. It's the prescriptive because it actually runs across multiple property lines, not just his. And so he no longer wants that because he's got some big plans about an Airbnb, et cetera, et cetera. So it went on and on. You guys remember last year, I was out there protesting multiple times. The police have now charged me with, I haven't seen the official paper yet, so I'm still waiting to be served. But you guys know I got my sources, my eyes and ears all over the place. So I have been charged with inciting violence and something else. I don't even know what else. During the protests. And so, yeah, he's continued to run havoc. The Adams family has been tortured by this man and his children. They've thrown rocks at the house of this elderly couple. I mean, this is Mike Adams, former MLA, former, manager over at Cayman Airways. Mike and his family are well-respected persons. They're not troublemakers. They just, trying to live out their senior years in peace. And this dude, Mendoza, has literally made their lives a living hell. I mean, no lie. They are so stressed out because of his shenanigans and what he does on a regular basis. So there seems to have been some preferential treatment from the police. And you might recall, there was actually a town hall meeting in West Bay where people were questioning, why are the police not doing anything? This guy has been, involved in property damage. He tore down their wall and I think a brick fence or something. And he actually had the audacity to use the components of the wall into his house or something, into his foundation. I mean, this dude is just, listen, I'm going to be quite frank with you. I don't often advocate violence as a solution to anything because I try to be a very law abiding person, right? So, in situations like obviously, if you are being attacked and you've got to defend yourself, then you kick some ass, right? You do your best to get out of certain situations. But I got to tell you that if I was the Adams family in this situation, I would not allow this guy to harass me for the 5 years that he has. I would have gone out there on just a matter of principle alone, because you know the police want to lock me up anyway. So at some point, I'm like, I've got to find a reason. Like, I'm honestly not built for prison. Like, I think I'm a little too cute for prison life. And, I'm going to miss out on the luxuries of like doing things that I want to do and enjoy my life when I want to enjoy it. But sometimes you think this would be worth going to prison and sitting down for a week or two, like a little mini vacation, and ask some of the girls in prison to please come braid my hair for me, hook me up with a prison look, because I'm sorry, but I would have gone out there, put on some gloves, and beat somebody's ass. And the police have just been so incredibly complacent with this entire situation. I mean, they have charged Mike Adams, right, for common assault or something ridiculous. You guys remember that over this situation because I think one day he had enough and kind of like pushed the guy out of the way. And they had him charged, drag his good name through the courts. And I think Mr. Mike at least has to be in his 60s. And so this is just some straight up bullshit. I mean, I don't know what else to call this. And you guys remember Mr. Denby Grooves? He was at the protest that we had on Tuesday. And one of the reasons you heard me kind of moaning and groaning when I saw him coming is because my only other experience with him was in relation to this Mendoza situation where he was coming out there trying to take up for Mendoza and trying to tell the protesters, oh no, Mendoza has all the rights. You can't do this, you can't do that. And on the one hand, the police are claiming, okay, this is a civil dispute, this is a civil matter. But it's like every time they show up at the scene, whatever Mendoza is doing, they allow him to continue doing. So they don't stop him and say, go to court, sort this out, etc. He gets free reign to do whatever he wants. And everybody's like, what does this dude have on the RCIPS? Because it was becoming very clearly imbalanced in terms of them always taking up for him and never for the Adams family. So, the commissioner, I think late last year, started to get a little bit more involved in the situation. The government finally said after the protest, which I don't know what took government so long, but better late than never, they finally said, okay, folks, enough is enough. We're going to come in here. Mind you, this is after the Adams family had gone and taken the prescriptive right to an actual, I forget what the term is now, but they applied to have it legally recognized. So it was no longer just prescriptive. Although a prescriptive right, it was showing up on the maps for 35, 40 years. The whole works, right? So they went through all of that with the land registry. They have spent money on lawyers. They have spent money on filing fees and all this kind of stuff. And this dude, along with Crosby, what's Mr. Crosby's last name? I can't remember. But old man Crosby, who seems to have really lost his mind, and he has lost the plot and talking about, well, he wants to be paid. Well, he's all about money. So Mendoza actually purchased the property from Crosby. So that's the connection between the two. And it seems like Mendoza has some kind of, I think it's Crosby Ebanks. Mendoza has some kind of a hold on old man Crosby. I don't know what other money he's promising him, but some shenanigans are going on there. So when government finally came in and took control of the situation, they issued notices in terms of the road and what was going to be done, et cetera, et cetera. At the 11th hour, I was there. I'm telling you guys, NRA comes in, Lands and Surveying comes in. They're doing their final surveying. They're going to pave the road, putting in light poles, putting in, this is something that would benefit the families in that area because now they're going to have proper poles running. They're going to do internet infrastructure will be able to come in. And of course, once government takes over the road, they're responsible for maintaining it. This dude, Wilson Mendoza, blocked the road. I mean, I just tell you that you cannot make this shit up. Anywhere else in the world, we've been talking about, you know, police brutality and kind of how the police react to certain individuals, like in the US, for example, because Mendoza is a Black man, I should say, just as an aside. And the only reason why I say that, because I can imagine in the US how this would have gone down. The police would have shown up, dragged his ass out of there, give him a few licks on the way out the door, and arrested him and hauled him off. But no, not in the Cayman Islands. I mean, this dude has some kind of special dispensation where, you know, nothing ever happens to him. So I'm gonna try to bring up his photo here so I can show you guys exactly who we're talking about. But yeah, he is an extremely idle man. And I have said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I think the guy actually has some mental health issues because he seems to have a lot of time on his hands. And he goes through these episodes where you won't hear from him for a while. And then all of a sudden, he'll come back out like a blazing lunatic. And then the poor Adams family has to be tortured yet again. And it's just this up and down cycle all over the place. Now, the most interesting and bizarre thing about this is, I mean, this is going back to like the summer of last year when we first started writing about this and first started informing people of what was going on. So here's an article from July the 1st of 2019. And it shows the prescriptive, it shows it on the map. I mean, this dude has just terrorized his family. He's had his kids throwing rocks at the Adams family. I'm going to just share this with you guys, this article, so you can go back and read this. But yeah, this guy has just been a legit terror to the neighborhood. And so he continues to block the road, do all of these shenanigans. And again, the police don't do anything, or they claim it's a civil matter. So when government was taking it over at the 11th hour, he runs in, finds money for lawyers, which he doesn't work. Apparently his wife works at Ernst & Young. He doesn't work. She's a PA or something. And I guess this is one of those situations where the dude has never had anything in his life. So now he has a little house that, yeah, it looks like a decent house, whatever. Nothing spectacular. But he seems to believe that this is like a mansion, right? And that's why he's overreacting the way in which he is. So he doesn't work. He hasn't worked for years. He owes contractors money up to this day, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's not yet paid them. But he finds money for a lawyer. That was probably Cosby that gave him a loan to find money for a lawyer. And so now they run into court on some technicality claiming that, oh, government hasn't paid them any money. Now listen, they got an injunction. I want to make it very clear. To get an injunction, you don't have to prove anything. You're not making any legal arguments before the court. You just have to have what is called a prima facie case. So in other words, the judge looks at it very, very superficially and thinks, could you possibly have a legal argument? And it's a very low bar to answer. And if the answer is yes, you could possibly have a legal argument, they will issue the injunction, which means stop for now. We'll see what happens at the hearing. And then the government can then pick up, continue with the road. So this is really crazy because government they were ready to pave the road. They had cleared out the bush and he was there blocking it even that day. Because again, I was there. He was there blocking it. The NRA staff were delayed by at least half a day because of his shenanigans. Somehow he got NRA to promise to rebuild his wall that was illegally put up, that now they had to tear down during this whole situation. And like I said, I just can't make this stuff up. All of this is so incredibly shocking. So NRA agreed to do all of that. They came in doing it. Then he blocks it at the last minute, refuses to let him in. The guys at the NRA staff were like, dude, this is like crazy. They're sitting there twiddling their thumbs because now they can't get the job done because this guy is going to block it with his vehicle. He's going to block it with, I forgot what else he had out there. He's blocked it with boulders. He has done the most, like all sorts of stuff. And honestly, by him doing all of those things, we saw where Miss Lisa had basically, I think, a panic attack, and her pressure had gone sky high, and no one was able, like literally, the ambulance service was not able to get in there and offer her any assistance because he had boulders in the way. And I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm going to put up a couple of the links here so you can go back and refresh your memory. But what ended up happening is the actual EMT staff had to get out of the ambulance. Police were standing there doing nothing. And this is now where I have a beef with the police, right? Because to me, if an ambulance is coming through, regardless of what you think is happening here or what this dispute is with Mendoza, at the end of the day, someone is in need of an ambulance. Someone has called an ambulance. So you jump up and you're supposed to help in that situation. And they just stood by there, like they were just stone faced, like standing there. As ambulance staff got out, and they were the ones who actually removed the boulders in order to gain access to Lisa and Mike Adams' house to be able to take Miss Lisa to the hospital. Can you believe this? Now, Mendoza is actually from New Jersey. I think he has Puerto Rican background or whatever. So I'm gonna share the story, the ambulance story, because again, we were all into this story. We knew exactly what was going on. And here's the ambulance story. I've shared the other one that kind of kicked off our coverage of it. And so yeah, this dude is just the most ridiculous. So he's from Puerto Rico, and I can't help but imagine that if he was doing this in Puerto Rico or even in New Jersey, there would have been a very different outcome to all of this. So he's managed to stop government. There's been no court hearing yet. And of course, we know because of COVID, the court schedule is significantly delayed. So there has been no, court hearing as yet. Only God knows when that will happen. So in the meantime, he now believes, despite the fact that there has been no court hearing, he is of the mistaken belief that that means that he can put his wall back, which is crazy. The man has threatened to kill members of the Addams family. I mean, I'm telling you, this dude is legit crazy. There is something really wrong with him. And he continues to be able to get away with it. So there's a photo here. I'm trying to pull up a few photos here. I think the problem is, like I said, this is one of those situations somebody would have got boxed in their mouths, and I would have gladly gone to Fairbanks and sat down and enjoyed prison life for a minute. And then I could come out and write about it and tell you guys all about it. But, this is what this dude is doing. So I think Mr. Mike is too nice. This is a situation where being nice is going to get you absolutely nowhere with someone like Mendoza. And then he plays these little games behind the scenes where he will be like, when he heard that government, when they issued the notice for government to actually come in now and do the road, he got scared and he runs off to a member of the Addams family and starts begging them to all of a sudden, let's work together. Don't allow them to put the road in. I won't block it. And I'm like, listen, you would be foolish to believe anything that this man says, because he has a tick of something. 1 minute, he's like, minding his own business, whatever you think, maybe he has the potential to be a good neighbor. And then the next minute, he has like a split personality. He's out there acting like a lunatic and just going on the most. So I'm trying to bring up a picture here of, this is the one with Mr. Crosby and the police and Mr. Mike when they were trying to sort this all out. So poor little Mr. Crosby, I don't know what to do him. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, especially to elderly Caymanians, but this man is all about the money. He doesn't care about anything else. And he clearly, has some issues of his own that he probably needs to get sorted out. So that's Mr. Crosby, Mr. Mike, the commissioner of police, and another officer there in West Bay. And I'm trying to get a picture here of Mendoza and his wife. So, his wife has Caymanian ties. I don't even believe that she's born in the Cayman Islands. I think she's born in New Jersey. Her mom, I think, is originally from East End and moved to the States a really long time ago, had her family there. She married, I guess, an American or whatever, had her family there. And this young lady decides that she wants to return home. In principle, that's great. This is a little fuzzy. Sorry about that, guys. I thought I had a better image of this, but she comes back home, and lo and behold, she comes back home with this terror of a man named Wilson Mendoza. And he used to work for, what was it, Westel or whatever, the pre-Logic company back in the day, doing installations. And he's not worked now for a number of years. And apparently his full-time job is terrorizing the neighborhood. And so this is what he does. And he has, by and large, been able to get away with it. So last night, this is her Benz blocking the roadway. Look at how they're blocking, dual blocking it. His SUV in the background blocking as well. So finally, the police had enough and they towed away the SUV. Hallelujah. About time. It is about time that they did something. I heard through my sources, because we got ears and eyes everywhere here at Cayman Mall Road, that the commissioner was pissed. How much time is he and his team going to waste on this man before his ass gets arrested? Like, seriously, he would have been in handcuffs eating some dirt last night if I was a police officer. And I guess that's why I'm not a police officer. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, he's now been warned for prosecution, which means that he'll be charged with something. So they're going to now go back and figure out, in this incident last night, what the breaches are. The police commissioner was actually knocking on his door. You need to come out now and speak to me. This is Commissioner Derek, what's his name? Burns, blah, blah, blah. And he refused to come out. He was locked up in his house. He's such a little pussy, right? When the things get hot, all of a sudden he's like scared and he doesn't want to come out. Listen, I've heard of some very interesting stories as a Caymanian, right? About these boys in East End. Sometimes teaching somebody a lesson in the neighborhood when they come and disrespect you and disrespect your community, you pay them a little visit and you have a stern conversation with them. You might slap them for a minute and then you say, listen, you don't come to East End, you don't come into our district and think that you're going to mistreat our workers, abuse our residents, do all this kind of stuff, because we believe in street justice and we will deal with it. Even if the police, the labor department, whatever, even if they are not prepared to do anything, you better believe that as community leaders, as people in the district of East End, we're going to look out for our own. So you don't come here with your Johnny Lately kind of attitude, wreaking havoc on people. And I've heard of these stories. I don't know how recent they are. They might not have been last month, but they're not distant history either. And so I keep thinking to myself, we're all the strong men in West Bay who could pay this man a visit and be like, dude, we have certain community standards here. And honestly, you're starting to get on our nerves. You're breaching those community standards. And more importantly, you are harassing. Now, if there's ever been an example of harassment, right? Causing distress. What do they have me charged with again? Causing alarm, distress, and something, whatever that official charge is under the penal code. If there's ever been an example of that, like an actual case that DPP could win, this is it. It's like, take this man to court and deal with him. And the police just haven't been able to get it together. The DPP's office just hasn't been able to get it together. So now we'll see after last night if he's sufficiently pissed off the commissioner enough to have something done. I mean, I'm just flabbergasted at what this dude has been able to get away with on all levels. There were some people that came out, protested, including myself, Charles Whitaker, David Ebanks. There's other people that lived in the neighborhood, in the community. There was someone who used their backhoe to block Mendoza in one day to kind of show him what it would feel like. And he just always finds a way around it. He is just legit. I mean, I don't know. Like, he really needs somebody to deal with him. The law is incapable of dealing with someone like him because nothing the law does he really care about when he's having a moment. Irvin says maybe he's having like a full moon moment. Maybe there's something that's wrong with him every full moon, but it's not even based on the lunar cycle. He's just crazy. Sue, thank you for tuning in. She has a strong cup of tea. Shal, you need a shot of whiskey this morning. Listen to this story. Jeanette, thank you. Sharon says, I don't get it because all I say is you were reporting live what was going on. And when you get there, people are already there. Yeah, Sharon, I think it's because at some point I may have said, because you know when I get in my moments, I might drop an F-bomb, shocker. And I think that's what it's really all about. I was like, you're such a fucking idiot. Woohoo. So at some point I was demanding for him to be arrested, a citizen's arrest. And I don't know if now they're trying to say that that's inciting violence. Who knows? You know, for me, they will make up the most ridiculous charges when it comes to me. And they've not won one case yet, but they keep coming. They keep trying. I'm like, okay, whatever. Rondine is trying to help us with the pronunciation of it. She says, good luck with this one. As even with the breakdown, I still can't pronounce it. Hi, Alice. Good morning. Cameron says, bet you still begging for pepper spray and a registry of offenders. Yeah, we'll never get those things, my dear. But he needs more than pepper spray. Morna, yeah, this is still an ongoing matter. The court hasn't even probably listed this case yet. This should be, you would think that when someone, sues the government for something to do with public access road. Now, I haven't really looked at his lawsuit, so I don't want to say too much in the merits of it, but what I understand that him and Crosby are claiming is that they are trying to say that the government hasn't compensated them for their land. The problem with that is government doesn't compensate you for your land like that. You actually have to apply. There's a process that you go through. So you have to apply to be compensated and submit relevant documentation to the government. It is my understanding that Mendoza has done none of that. And I feel pretty confident. I mean, we know sometimes the government, there are times that they're not perfect and they mess things up. Now I'm talking about the civil service here. But I'm pretty confident knowing this dude and knowing what he stands for and how he operates. I am more than confident that at the end of the day, what actually happened is pretty much the letter of the law. You've got 14 days to serve notice. You've got this much time to do this. You've got this much time to do that. And I feel confident that the government has done what needed to be done in terms of service of notices and stuff. And he's trying to pull something out of his magic hat in terms of, they might have messed up on a technicality. I don't actually believe that has been done. But again, he's effectively delayed the process. Now, if I was the Adams family from a legal perspective, what I would have done is I would have filed a lawsuit of my own, an injunction against him, preventing him in the interim while his injunction in his case is waiting to be heard, preventing him from actually doing anything else. So he needs an injunction that says you cannot put boulders back in the road. You cannot use your vehicles to block the pathway. You cannot put up a fence, because apparently the other day he was rebuilding the fence to close them off. His argument is, the Adams family owns more than one parcel in this area. So they can open up an access way to the back end of another parcel. It's not part of the current parcel, but it is an adjoining parcel. And that's his logic. And that's what he's trying to force them to do. But how is that right? And how is that fair when this prescriptive access way that is now a legally recognized access way, and in fact, an access way that government has now taken over, has been there for about as long as you've been alive? And now you want to come in and dictate to landowners in the area, no, you have to open up another access way. That's not how it works, Bobo. That's not how it works at all. And you don't know what their plans are with that additional parcel of land. They may have no intentions of using it for themselves. They may sell it. And what if they sell it? That's not an access way. So that's his logic and how he's thinking, because he's got big plans. His retirement plan is he will never work again in his life because he's going to have an Airbnb at this location. And it's like Iron Shore view or whatever. It's not beachfront, but it's like Iron Shore view, right? So he's thinking, these people from probably the States who think like him will come and pay for an Iron Shore view, and they're going to pay a premium price for his Airbnb services. If they know how crazy he is, they would never want to go near his Airbnb, honestly. He'd probably, they'd wake up in the middle of the night and see him peeping through the window with his cameras or something. So he's got cameras all over the place. I mean, this dude is just like, I thought about him. And again, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist, but I thought about him and I said to myself, I bet you his wife, who seems to be going along with all of this, and she comes out there, I'm a Caymanian. You can't tell me what to do. I'm a Caymanian. I have every right. I'm like, girl, yes, you legally you are a Caymanian. And that alone should make you ashamed. You should be ashamed of yourself. I don't know if your mother's still alive or where your mom is, but clearly she's not taught you anything about Caymankind and how Caymanians by and large actually believe in following the law and respecting their elderly and doing the right thing. So I don't care if you're a Caymanian on a piece of paper. In your heart, you were something else. And then I thought about it and I said, you know what? She's probably terrorized by this man just as much or more than the Addams family. And maybe that's why she allows him to run amok. Because the more he runs amok and focuses on the Addams family or anybody else, probably the less she has to focus on and the less that she has to put up with and endure herself. So I wouldn't doubt, and during COVID, I'm sure that didn't help, being locked up in a house with this lunatic of a husband. Because when you find people acting out like that, normally their home life is not like entirely happy. All right. Let's see some of your comments. Cameron says you think he's mental, but he's getting paid. Well, I don't know who he's getting paid by, but this is ridiculous. Morna says the house is not his. It belongs to his wife. Trump kicked them out, and thank God the wife's mother had something here for them to go. See, that's my opinion about it. And Morna, I've heard all sorts of stories because he claims that he's ex-militia, ex-military in the States. And, we had actually done a little bit of digging up on him because, us here at Kim Road, we can dig. We got some investigative skills, folks. And we actually saw where his family owned a house. We got the address in New Jersey, the whole 9 yards. It was only like maybe worth $50,000. Obviously, not much of anything. So I think part of what's going on here is this dude has just allowed this situation to go to his head. And so, he's gotten a little piece of property, a little piece of paradise, something he's never enjoyed before. And now he believes that he'll do anything for this land. And you've got to watch people like him. Like, he makes me very uncomfortable on a serious note. There's something off with him. You look at him and you look at the expression in his face and the way that he carries himself. And he's one of those people that ends up on a TV show. That show called Fear Your Neighbor, Fear Thy Neighbor on ID Discovery? He's one of those neighbors. Like, honestly, he's one of those neighbors that you have to be fearful of. So this right of way was registered in 1973. Hello, folks. I was born in 1973. That's a relatively, I'm not trying to call myself old, but that's 46 years ago. And this dude comes in the last 3-4 years and he's just trying to change all of that. The Addams family has been using it in excess of 30 years. I mean, this has just got to stop. And I'm afraid nothing will stop him. This is what I'm afraid of. And we have audio. I've heard of audio of him telling someone how he's going to put them 6 feet under. I think it was one of Mike's children. That he's going to, him and his friend, right? A family friend. And he was quoted as saying, I will put you 6 feet under. What are you effing looking at? And then he taunts them, says, touch me, touch me. I will put you 6 feet under. And he taunts these young kids a lot because he knows that, here you are harassing this elderly couple that has children that have had enough of you and your bullshit. And one of these days, one of those kids might legitimately just go off and box him and beat the shit out of him. No one could really blame them, but of course the law is going to then haul you off to court, right? And this is where you make sure you get yourself a juror of your peers, of Caymanians, who will know that you've got a defense of provocation and you've got a defense of self-defense, and at some point, somebody's going to thump this man in his head. And that would be precisely what he deserves. So he keeps egging them on because his thing is, yeah, let's lock them all up. And when they're locked up, I can build my big wall and build my big fence. And there will be no one at all to stop him. So this is what he continues to do. So Morna says he's not Caymanian, Bobo. His wife, I think, is a Caymanian. I heard she wasn't born here. Yeah. So by now, unfortunately, he has status through her. So I don't know if that can ever be revoked. I don't understand what Cameron is saying this morning. Cameron, did you take your tablet this morning? You're confusing me. Buenos dias, feliz fin de semana. Yes, happy Friday. It's the weekend. Thank you, Elizabeth. Big shout out to the Bay Islands TV crew who are listening in. Sue, good morning to you. Sue says, why are you in court? There are lots of people that day, same day, protesting against Mendoza, helping the Mike family. You did nothing wrong. Well, this is it. This is when you know it's personal, people. I ain't gonna lie. The police has a little bit of a vendetta with me. So anything they think could possibly remotely lunar eclipse, sex craze kind of story, maybe stick, they're going to just throw it at me. Boom, 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 boom. And one day, even I must admit, my God, if you take somebody to court 25 times, one day you might actually win a case. So they just keep trying, Sue. That's all I can tell you. Yes, there were other people there and there were other people saying the exact same thing and whatever, but I guess I recorded my own evidence, so to speak. So now they will turn around and use my live stream against me and say, here she is saying to lock the man up and using the F-bomb. Ooh, oh my God, heaven forbid. Jake says there's tints on both of those cars that look illegal. Why don't they do that? Don't know. Irvin said they should have towed them both away. And trust me, I agree. They should have neither car this morning because she's allowing her vehicle to be used. And you know what? When we were there last year, I saw the most interesting thing. The day that the NRA was there trying to put in the roads, all of a sudden he jumps in his car. He's running to his lawyer's office, trying to get them to stop it at the last minute. And he got in the car with his wife, and then he kind of pulls up the roadway a little bit, and he tells Mr. Crosby to get in the vehicle as well. Now, the wife was in the front seat. Hear how bizarre of a story this is. The wife actually got out of the front seat and got in the back seat so that Crosby could sit in the front seat. And I looked at that in that moment and thought, what century are we in? Why couldn't Crosby have just jumped in the back seat? Because the back seat was empty in his SUV. But they actually made the wife get out, get in the back seat, like the little slave woman that she probably is to this husband. And Crosby got in the front seat. And I said, wow, that explains a lot about the dynamics of their relationship as a couple, as well as the dynamics of the relationship that he has with Crosby. And again, I'm not trying to go too deep with this, but it speaks volumes to me. She is most likely terrorized by this man and afraid to speak up. Good morning, Kathy. Happy Friday. Lisa had a laugh. She's like, a little what? You heard me, Lisa. That's exactly what he is. Maybe I need to drop a couple Spanish words on him and he'll understand those too. Morna says you may do as much as you want to, but not as long as you wish. Well, he's gotten away with it for quite a long time, Morna, so I don't know. Sue says, yes, good old EastEnders, they would fix him. And I must say, though, I'm really surprised because West Bayers are supposed to be, I guess every district kind of has some badasses, right? And West Bay supposedly has their fair share, but they're so complacent. This is what has happened to us as a people. I mean, I get everybody scared. Nobody wants to get locked up. Like I said, I know I'm not made for prison life. I mean, really and truly. But on a matter of principle, at some point, something has to be done with this guy. Celia, good morning. Appreciate your support. Kathy says there could be some truth to that, Sandy. Come to think of it, she's probably been through hell and back with him. I wouldn't doubt it because he seems like he's got that type of terrorizing personality. Yes, Sharon, I agree. She is most likely being victimized by him. She probably wants him locked up so she can get a break. Hi, Linda. Happy Friday. And Morna says he fully controls her every movement. Wow. Morna seems like she's a no about this couple. And again, he seems like that kind of man. Narcissistic, controlling, probably a wife beater, obviously a terrorizer of his good neighbors, all of these things. Mendoza, boy, they just need to give you one night in Northwood in the right cell. As a matter of fact, put you in the cell with Jeffrey Barnes, because Jeffrey will fix you up. That's all I'm going to say on that matter, folks. Yes, but it is disturbing. I mean, enough is enough, So we'll see what this intended prosecution is. He's been warned for intended prosecution. It wasn't a full moon, so I don't know what his excuse is for his absolutely ridiculous behavior that has been ongoing for quite some time now. I, for one, am sick and tired of it. And I can only imagine the Adams family waking up every single day, day in and day out, and having to deal with this dude. Honestly, they have like the patience of Job, because this would not have been my life story up until this point. Like, I legit, and like I said, I do not advocate violence hardly ever. But this is one of those cases where I would have put on some gloves and got some Vaseline or something and just thump him a couple times. And he wants the police to believe that he's the one who's living in fear. So he's created this narrative in his head. And I guess some of them believe it, that, oh, he's the one who's living in fear. And he's got all of these cameras all over the place, right? That pick up your audio and your every single movement as you're walking on what will now be a public street. And anytime the police go to see him, the police have to go inside of his house. He demands that they come inside because he doesn't want anyone to overhear the conversation as though anybody's spying on him. He's the one who does all the spying, right? So instead, he invites the police in, or he demands that they come in, and being the little house people that they are, let's put it that way, they go inside and they listen to him in two twos. Like, they could literally speak to the Adams family. Okay, we're going to make him move it. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And something happens when they go inside the house. It's like, the movies where somebody enters a house and there is something in the air, like the killer has put this mist in the air that then makes the people who come in like crazy and they believe everything, or, whatever. There's some special kind of mist that is in Mendoza's house. And that's why he forces the police to come inside. And then when they go and they leave, they come out saying something different than 5 minutes ago. And you're like, what just happened? You literally just said, we're going to make him move it. We're going to do X, Y, Z. You go into his house by his insistence, and then you come out preaching a totally different story. What the heck is going on? Sandy, good morning to you too. Sandra Coe says yes. JB would have a field day with him in prison. He wouldn't be the only one. There'd be a few of those boys in prison that would love for him to pay them a visit. Okay, Morna says that's her opinion. I think so too. Yes, narcissists come in all shapes and sizes, and you know, it's just disturbing. So we'll cover that story. We'll have that up on the website a little bit later on. So please make sure that you check that out. We can only hope that this is the beginning of the end, and that there will finally be a resolution, permanent, long-term resolution to this situation. Karen, he's not starting. No. Karen says he's dealing with the wrong Caymanians. No, he's not. He's dealing with the right Caymanians because they are the ones. Mike, bless his little heart, but Mr. Mike is too nice. Miss Lisa, bless her. These are the most wonderful people, but they are too nice. I'm telling you, he not buck up on the right ones yet, or the wrong ones, or however you want to put it. And he knows that. He knows that these people are people that he can railroad over, and they're going to continue to try to follow the law to the T and continue to try to do the right thing and let the process. I mean, I can't tell you how long this had been going on for years before they agreed to let others reach out to us who have been wanting to reach out to us to make this public for a very long time. And they would have still been continuing to suffer in silence had that not been done. It was only when this came to the fore and that people started to see what was going on, people were like, what? And Mike Adams and his family, like I said, are well-respected individuals in the community. They've lived there for most of their lives and have never had any problems or issues with anybody. I mean, like I said, I got to be careful what I say in here because then they'll come and say I was inciting violence on this show too. But anywhere else in the world, and this is what I said during that live stream, and I don't know if this amounts to inciting violence, but I'm going to say it again. Anywhere else in the world, he would have been dealt with. And I mean really dealt with. He couldn't have done this in the United States of America. You see what happens in the United States of America. You walk on a man's property during a public protest uninvited, and he's going to take out a shotgun along with his wife and her handgun, and they're threatening to shoot you. Imagine if you'd been terrorizing them for years like this. They would have shot you a long time ago. That's the reality of the world, and especially the American world, where everybody's walking around tuning a gun in their hands, that he would have been contending with. Hi, George. Good morning. Oh, yes, Karen. Now I understand what you're saying. Yes, got it. Yes, Mr. Mike and his family are just a little bit too nice for the likes of Mendoza. George says, nice topic. Happy Friday to you and the Campbell's family. And also shout out to my good friend, France Manderson and Paula. Sometimes Paula tunes into the show, I think. George from Jamaica, keeping safe. Thank you, Mr. George. Continue to keep safe. And we will certainly pass on your comments to France and at least one of the Campbell's boys so that they can let the others know that you're shouting out to them. Hey, Quincy, how's the brat? Hope that you're well. So we're going to move on from Mendoza because he makes my pressure go up on a regular day. Someone's asking if I have any idea when CNB's main branch will open. No word yet on when the banks will return to normal hours. Lots of questions about like immigration. When are they going to fully reopen? Don't know is the short answer, but I suspect things are starting to get back to normal in August. We've gone now a number of weeks going into 3 weeks, hopefully soon, with no positive cases. Now, that does not mean that we do not have any cases at all in the Cayman Islands. It just means that they are becoming harder and harder to find. And so hopefully we have no active cases, and we've had no positive cases in about 16 or 17 days now. So that is absolutely good news. And hopefully that trend will continue. Okay, so in terms of what's going on elsewhere in the world, the US does not have coronavirus under control by any stretch of the imagination. And they continue to struggle with that situation. And I read an interesting article last night that I wanted to share with you because, the chief medical officer, Dr. Lee, said at the last press briefing that the information coming out of the US is being sort of hyper, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? It's being exaggerated, hyperinflated, and really, even in the state of Florida, they only have something like 2 to 5% of the population that is actually infected with this virus. And I'm going to disagree respectfully with Dr. Lee on this, because he's saying, you got to look at, the number of persons that are getting tested and blah, blah, blah. Listen, there are people who are not getting tested, who are asymptomatic, who we know have it. Somewhere between, now they're saying 10 to 13 times, somewhere in that range, is what you need to increase the numbers by. So if they say that, okay, they've had 100,000 people tested positive in the state of Florida, multiply that by 10. That's a more realistic figure of what the real numbers are. Because again, people will not be tested in the US, which is way behind on their testing, unless they are sick, and probably the sickest of the sick are the ones who are getting tested. And now tests in the US are taking, I need to take another bite of my banana. I hate when banana starts to get brown, don't you? My toddler refuses to eat it when it starts to get brown. She's like, it's no good, it's no good. So this is a bit of interesting information, because I don't know where he got his information from. He made some reference to the World Health Organization, I think, but I think he needs to revisit the numbers, because just yesterday, the Florida Department of Health said Martin County has the highest positivity rate for children in the entire state of Florida. Now, I lived in Florida, and I don't even know where Martin County is. Nonetheless, on July the 26th alone, 45.1% of children in Martin County tested positive for the coronavirus. 45.1% in one day. So the most recent pediatric report released by the Florida Department of Health indicates that as of July the 24th, 25.3% of the kids that they have tested in Martin County have all come back positive. So, they're starting to do a little bit wider testing, I guess, for school-age children now, in anticipation of reopening. Because remember, some schools are reopening in a couple of weeks, in August. And President Trump has told these schools that they better reopen, or he's going to cut federal funding. So this parent shared, she said, I can't personally risk my child on a ventilator in the hospital. Now, we know that for the most part, the vast majority of people who are dying from this are elderly people or people with compromised immune systems. That doesn't mean that children can't die from this. There have been babies who have died from the coronavirus. So we will keep an eye on this situation, but I would invite Dr. Lee to revisit what he said in that statement about Florida, because in my opinion, if we do a phase reopening, the United States of America should be nowhere on our list in the immediate future. So here's something again that he needs to consider. The Department of Health said prior to May, children could not get tested unless they were symptomatic. And the truth is, we know that the vast majority of children are asymptomatic. They will show no symptoms at all. However, they are more likely to be carriers and expose other people than anyone else. And so now you have them going into a school environment, exposing other kids, exposing their teachers, who are then exposing their families. And it just makes no sense at all to allow this to happen. Europe is bringing back a number of measures. So the UK brings back 14-day quarantine for Spain, again, because vacationers were taking these $39 specials to Spain, vacation for $39 a flight or whatever. And so the upsurge in coronaviruses has increased in Spain, and the vacationers from the UK who are going there are bringing it back to the UK as well. And the UK doesn't have it under control. So now the Foreign Office in the UK has advised against all but essential travel to mainland Spain. And this has been a public service announcement as of this week. The European Union has extended their ban on the US for yet another time. So they once again have said, you're not coming into the European Union, sorry. Find somewhere else to go vacation. So I think that as we continue to consider what to do, we need to be very, very careful. So for the second time this month, the European Union has extended its travel ban on Americans on Thursday, which was yesterday, as COVID-19 infections continue to rise across the US. So they have opened and lifted some restrictions into the European Union bloc as of July the 1st from 14 countries, including Canada, South Korea, and Australia. But the US was left off of the initial list, and now they have extended that on multiple occasions. So the European Council does a bi-weekly review of travel restrictions, examining coronavirus trends and containment measures for each country to determine whether or not to narrow the list of permitted travelers. And so they continue to say that the US is just too much of a hotspot. As of Thursday, the US has had over 4.4 million COVID cases and more than 151,000 deaths, more than any other nation in the world. All right, folks, let me take a quick commercial break. And then we're going to come back and continue our discussions. I need to let Coco, my sidekick, into the room. I can hear her. I don't know if you guys can hear her, but I can actually hear her outside crying and saying, "Let me in. I want to just lie down by your foot." You guys know how dogs are, my dear. They're like the most loving things in the world, but they also like to be with people. All right, so enjoy this commercial break from Miracle Brokers. All of your shipping and packing needs. Miracle Brokers is a company that has been around, I think, for at least 30 years. And they really know the shipping and logistics business. And we're going to start learning a bit more about the services that they offer. I mean, they offer a lot. Like, I had no idea, to be honest. If you're a Filipino, for example, they have these Filipino boxes where you can pack up stuff and send it back home. So whether you're moving home or you're just sending a care package or whatever the case may be, you can do so through Miracle Brokers, and they have it extremely organized where it goes directly to a location in the Philippines. So yeah, we're going to find out more about the various services that they have to offer. So have a look at this and we'll be right back after these messages.
Miracle Brokers is back. That's right. We're fully reopened and back to work. Our agents are here to serve you with all of your packing and shipping needs. Need to move? Don't worry. Give us a call today. Collect a package, shipping around the world, or straight to Cayman? You got it. Give us a call on 949-5989. Collection by personalized appointment only, where our dedicated agents are on standby to personally assist you. Don't forget to wear your mask, maintain social distancing, and one person per appointment. Check us out at miraclebrokers.com today.
A very special connection with the moon. I was born in July 1969, and everybody knows what happened then. The first man went on the moon in the month I was born, July 1969. The thing about the moon is that we have more energy. We feel more extroverted and connected to our partners, and have more interest in sex due to our gravitational pull of the moon and earth and the consequent energy released during this time. If you didn't know, a full moon increases women's sexual desire. The lunar cycle seems to affect women of all shapes and sizes. So I'm just saying, pay attention to the moon and bring up these totals. And by the way, this is not irresponsible. This is about saving a nation.
All right, folks, this is not about being irresponsible. This is about saving a nation. You must know what's happening with the lunar cycle and people's sexualities. And I don't know who was saying yeah in the background, but there you have it, folks. That's the truth. Preach it, Brother Seymour. John says, good morning, Senora Sandy. Hi, John. Good to see you. Bonnie, hi. Sean Westbay says, let him try that up in Birch Tree Hill or off Hell Road. Marshall says he definitely is dealing with the wrong neighbors. He wouldn't be going on with all that shit if he had the right neighbors next to him. I dare say. Quincy says the BRAC is great. Love visiting here. Beautiful day. And he is keeping well. I love the BRAC for a couple of days. I can't take it for much longer though, because it's like I get over relaxed. I'm like, oh, I need something to do. It's gotten easier as internet has become a little bit more widely available. I remember the first time I went to the BRAC. I was an adult. So as you guys know, I lived in the States for a number of years. And I came back and I was like, I've never been to the BRAC. How can I be a Caymanian and I've never been to the BRAC or Little Cayman? Like something's wrong with that, right? But believe it or not, there are a lot of Caymanians who've never been to the BRAC. So I decided to go and visit. Back then. This would have been, oh gosh, probably 20 years ago, whatever. I mean, I felt like I had stepped back into the island that time had seriously forgot. It was just so quiet. I mean, it's still quiet on the BRAC. You can drive for miles and not see another car. I mean, it's just like a different low-key vibe. But it's a little bit too low-key for me. I need a little bit more action sometimes. However, I must say with the advent of the internet, yeah, I could probably go there for a week and just chill out and get some R&R and just sleep a lot and hang out by a pool and play a little bit of tennis. So Sue didn't say that on Florida News today. It's really bad. Yes. Charlene, good morning. Quincy is telling us a little bit about BRAC staycations. Thank you. The Alexander Hotel has reopened, hasn't it? I would love to do a promotion with them. I wonder if they're not interested. Quincy, walk over there. Everything in the BRAC is, you can just go over. And tell those folks over at the Alexander Hotel to call me. Let them know I want to do a staycation and we could do like a show from the BRAC. Karen, good morning, darling. So Marshall shares that Florida has surpassed NYC with the cases of COVID-19. It's terrible out there. And there's a lot of kids getting infected as well. Just 2 days ago, and 9-year-old girl died. Very sad. So Quincy says 124 tuned into Sandy Hills CMR, 63 tuned into Woody DaCosta's crosstalk. I don't know what those numbers mean, Quincy. Maybe you can clarify. Morna says, I'm thinking hard on children going back to school and with the wearing of masks all day and social distancing, but we have to see how that works. Now, surely you cannot expect children in a classroom to sit down and wear masks all day. I mean, that's not healthy for them. Sarah says that the school commissioner of Miami-Dade has delayed opening of schools. I thought I saw something about that, and he was going to encourage them to continue like distance learning options. I mean, they know that, keeping kids out of the classroom is not the best option, but what are you going to do? Louis says he was born in July. Happy birthday, Louis. This month is over. And now I hate to tell you, Louis, but the best month of the year is upon us. August the 1st is tomorrow. And so in our household, we've got 2 August babies, myself, August 18th, and my daughter is August the 9th. So you know what happens once you have kids, they're the ones who get all the parties and stuff, right? So unfortunately for me, no more birthday parties. I'm sure some of my girlfriends will take me out for dinner and that sort of thing, but little Miss Gianna, she's the one who gets the parties. And so she's going to be 4 this year. I cannot believe how quickly that time flew by. I mean, it feels like just literally yesterday that we were going into the hospital to do the C-section and to bring her into this world. She came a little bit early, about 4 weeks early, and she was a preemie, 4 pounds, 1 ounce. So she had to go into the NICU, and she stayed there for a month, and she's still tiny. Like, people see her. I think photos are a little bit deceiving, because when people see her, they're like, oh, she's so tiny. And she kind of, I don't know, she gets annoyed by it because everybody in her classroom treats her like the baby in the group because she is like the smallest one. So they're always like, oh, I'm going to pick you up. She's like, no, leave me alone. So, she's a little feisty. So, yeah, in her mind, she's not a baby, but I think sometimes people kind of treat her that way because she's so tiny. But boy, she's got a mouth on her, a vocabulary. Certain things are passed on from one generation to the next. So she's got the gift of gab, as we say. Yes, Morna, I had to play that video because every time I see it, I must admit that I do laugh. And so I can't help but share the good humor with you guys. And I know that you're all here for it and you understand the importance of good humor. JD is here for it. Melita, good morning. If you guys are just joining in, we do understand that a young man unfortunately passed away this morning at the Frank Sound police station, fire station, sorry. I'm assuming that means that he is a fireman. I don't know if he was, because I guess you could go to the fire station if you were having some difficulty, maybe as an interim measure until they could get you to the hospital. But he passed away. We do have, like I said, his photograph and some information, but we're waiting a little bit longer until we get some further details and hopefully until his family has been properly notified. So I don't know what happened. I can't give people any information. He looks young. And it's just really sad. Yeah, I don't think that that's realistic, Sue. And I think if you're still having to like if things are that bad where you're still having to force kids to wear a mask, maybe you just shouldn't reopen. Like, it's not time to reopen yet. And I do believe that that's where the US definitely is. Do not reopen, folks. It's only going to get worse. I mean, it's like rampant. Like, it's just crazy there. So I would say hold off. Did you guys hear about this man? Speaking of Florida, there was a story we did a couple days ago about a guy who had applied for government assistance. You know, the US government is giving away some money. And so he had applied for some COVID assistance, and I think he got just about $4 million, $3.9 million of COVID relief funds. Like, it's an initiative for small businesses, apparently. And this dude, I don't know how he did this or how he pulled it off, but basically he lied to the authorities about what he had going on. Here, Miss Coco. Coco, shh, stop it. That's my sidekick, Coco, in the background. So he ended up buying a Lamborghini with $4 million of his COVID release money. So the story goes that he applied for this COVID loan through a program called the Paycheck Protection Program. So this was really supposed to benefit like small businesses or businesses and their employees. And so he applied for approximately $13.5 million in Paycheck Protection Program loans, using false information on the application about respective payroll expenses of the companies he was applying on behalf of. And so, he made all sorts of false claims. So either the employees didn't exist or they earned a fraction of what he claimed on his PPP applications. This is what the Department of Justice has said. And so he was arrested over the weekend on Sunday and charged with essentially defrauding the US government. So, yeah, crazy, right? So he purchased a $300,000 car, $318,000 for a 2020 Lamborghini Huracan. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Never got to purchase a Lamborghini, folks, and never will. So he got nearly $3.9 million in approved loans. Although he applied for 13.5, this dude is like, he's shooting for the stars, folks. And he ended up getting the money and making these luxury purchases at retail stores and resorts in Miami Beach, including the Lamborghini, and so on. So this dude is crazy. Yeah, that's him. This isn't his first rodeo with the law. He had a run-in a couple years ago, apparently, where he was arrested along with his at the time in Miami Beach. And he's also faced a number of charges, including fleeing from police. And this, again, a stolen Lamborghini. Isn't that crazy? The man must have a fetish for Lamborghinis. I mean, talk about luxury cars. So yeah, the US, listen, they're giving bad people. So I guess he figured, what the heck? Why not apply for a $13 million loan? That is a lot of money. And there are people who actually need it, like him. So, possible through the Coronavirus and Economic Security Act called CARES. It's a federal law that was enacted in March. And it's supposed to to negative by the economic effects of COVID-19 pandemic. They've authorized up to $349 million in forgivable loans to small businesses for various expenses through the PPP loan program. So forgivable loans mean they'll never have to pay back. But these loans are supposed to be used for payroll costs, interest on mortgages, rent, and utilities, according to the Department of Justice. So he's a Miami resident, and his name is David T. Hines, and he's 29 years old. And it looks now like David will be heading off to jail if the U.S. Attorney and Department of Justice have their way with his case. So greed, and more greed. John says that I'm breaking up. Can you hear me, John? Oh, Quincy's saying your show is better according to the numbers. Thank you, Linda. I wasn't quite following what those numbers are about. Oh, yes. Okay, got it. Good morning, Jaron. John wants to know if kids are going to be tested. Well, here in Cayman, no one has heard how that will work or what we'll be doing here. But our kids, when does school restart here, by the way? I don't even know. I'm now just starting to get to the point, because Gianna's going to be 4 in August, where I need to start thinking about like September schools. And so I think we start back in September, right? So she is now like kindergarten age, reception age. So we're trying to decide kind of, what happens there. But, before, when they're in daycare, you're like, they're in daycare. You don't have to think about a whole lot. Yes, Morna, our condolences definitely go out to the family and friends and loved ones of the person who passed away. All we know is we've heard that he's collapsed. I've seen a photo of him. He looks like a very young guy. And so I don't really know what happened. Marshall says, that's the one thing I like about up here is they will get you fast for fraud. Yeah, they don't play around, buddy. They will get you and throw away the key. Thank you, John, for feedback. Let me just check our WhatsApp. Someone said to check my mic. Thank you for that. Oh, I just got some additional information. Yeah, sad. Very sad. All right, folks, we will keep an eye on that situation. What else is going on in the world of news? Let's just have a quick look. That was one of those stories with the Lamborghini that I thought, wow, this guy's bold. And you know how he ended up getting caught? He might have gotten away with it. But evidently he got in an accident with the Lamborghini. And that's when they started going, hold on a second. Where you get brand new Lamborghini from during COVID-19? And they started doing a little bit more digging into his situation. Did you guys hear that this former U.S. presidential candidate, Herman Cain, has died from COVID-19? Mm-hmm. Yep. More ganja coming into Cayman waters. And we have to keep an eye on that. In case you missed yesterday's report, immigration officers in that fraud case, Cayman's largest fraud case ever, they had to break it up over 2 separate trials, has culminated in the conviction in November of those individuals and now sentencing. And a number of them have received jail time and some have part suspended sentences and stuff as well. So Quincy, thank you for watching our numbers. I noticed at one point this morning, we did go up to like 171 persons or something around that number. So we do watch them here on the show as well. Hackers continue to wreak havoc all over the world. So hackers post fake stories on real news sites, is what the BBC News headline says this morning. Wow. Crazy, right? Really crazy. Hong Kong has delayed its September election by a year, citing the pandemic as a reason. However, pro-democracy politicians are saying that this is an effort to sideline them, kind of like maybe what Trump wants to do with his postponing of events as well. Of the election, sorry, not events, but of the actual election. So we'll keep an eye on all these shenanigans all over the world to see precisely what is going on. Oh, fake news. I've got two emails this morning, one that says DHL customer support and the other one that says TNT e-invoicing. They came in about 10 minutes apart from each other at 12:40 a.m. and 12:50 a.m. talking about, oh, please be informed that your order has been dispatched by DHL Express. And they put some fake airway bill number in here. Boy, they're not going to catch me with this stuff because I know I haven't ordered anything from DHL. So why would I be? Yeah. And then there's one for TNT invoicing. Again, trying to get you to click on something. Folks, be careful. Be careful. I don't know you. I haven't ordered anything. My stuff goes through Amazon. Amazon doesn't need to email me. So we will keep an eye on, I mean, hackers and all these people, they don't take a break just because it's COVID time. So someone sent us an email saying that they have purchased food from several restaurants in West Bay that are operating illegally, no T&B, no proper kitchen, and animals running around in the kitchen and the home, and they need to be shut down because apparently they're saying that they have ordered food from these places and they've gotten sick. So it says any kind of food prep should be done in a proper approved DEH kitchen, not from a home to be sold to the public. Well, we know that the DEH, Department of Environmental Health, has food safety and handling courses that if you have a business license that falls into certain categories, you're supposed to be adhering to. You could use a home kitchen and sell to the, I mean, they do allow, I think, certain businesses or people to be grandfathered in who've done that. I don't think you can just do that anymore. Like you couldn't get a new license, but if you've been in business for like, you know, a long time, I'm thinking of people like Miss Elrita. But, you know, they have to use certain standards. Miss Elrita keeps her kitchen to standards. And she has her staff are supposed to do food handling training and they're supposed to know how to handle your food. So food poisoning is never nice. Oh my God. I think I've only really, well, there's like food poisoning and then there's the dreaded food poisoning that lasts a really long time. So I know for sure that I've definitely had stuff that made me sick. And normally, you know, you go through where you're like, you have your moments and that'll pass after like a night of like really being sick. One of the sickest times I've ever had, actually the sickest instance I've ever had, was actually in Panama. My husband and I some years ago did a trip to Panama, and it was one of these like excursions. So part of the trip was spent in the country, and then the last part was like in the city for like the last 3 or 4 days. And it was actually really nice. We got to see the Panama Canal, and you know the hotel room was nice. But when we went into the city, the first meal that we had, which I should have known better, like there's certain things that you kind of very cautious about eating when you travel. And my aunt is always like, don't touch pork, don't touch, you know. So we went to this restaurant. It was actually a very popular restaurant. There were tons of people there. It wasn't far from our hotel, so it was like walking distance. And we said, oh, let's go and check out. Like when you go, to a different country, you want to immerse yourself into, what people are doing, what the locals are eating, all that kind of stuff. So we're like, yeah, let's go check out this restaurant. So we ordered a couple different things, and one of the things on my dish was some kind of pork dish. I can't remember exactly what it was, and it tasted good, and I ate it. And boy, that night, can I tell you, I was so sick. OMG. I was in the bathroom the entire night. My poor tummy was just like, whoo, it was horrible. And then that morning, I had to beg my husband to go to the pharmacy around the corner to get me something to try to just help my stomach. And I remember him, saying to me, I don't even speak any Spanish in this country. And I was like, listen, take your phone and use your Google Translate on the phone. Like, just tell it what you want, and then, it'll translate it and whatever. So he was able to come back with some stuff that they gave him at the pharmacy to try to settle my stomach, but it was not nice. It was not nice at all. And then there was another time locally where I had an instance of food poisoning after eating sushi from a particular local business. And that was the kind of food poisoning that lasted for like weeks, kind of thing. Like, it wasn't bad then like you have your moments where you felt like really sick, but like I've never had that level of like deep stomach cramping. Like normally, you get food poisoning and like I said, in 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever, it's gone. This would be like a week later, all of a sudden, just doing nothing, I would get this internal like belly ache that you're like, oh my gosh. And then you're like, damn, I'm never gonna eat sushi again. Sometimes it happens, you just got to be careful. So this person who reported these two restaurants, we will simply pass it along, which, you can do as well, to DEH. They do have a complaint mechanism. We'll pass it along to DCI in case what you say is accurate about these companies not having a business license. And I'm pretty sure that they will investigate and check that out. John says to check my WhatsApp. Okay. Is this you, John? I see somebody. I'm gonna message just that. Is it you, John? I see a message that came in. Thank you. What was the outcome, Melita? We mentioned that earlier. He's still a nuisance. He's still a pain in the ass. He's jackass of the century, of the decade at least. And so in this case now, we will just have to take a wait and see attitude. The police towed one of the vehicles, and they have warned him for prosecution. So we'll see if anything comes of that. Because of course, the police, they put the file together, and then it's up to the DPP's office who they really want to prosecute. So who knows? So John says the 26th of August is the reopening of schools. Thank you, John. Hi, Nikisha. Good morning. We'll get the date. So private and public schools apparently have different dates. Dialis Brignones. Good morning. Buenos dias. Buenos dias to everyone in La Ceiba, in the Bay Islands, in Honduras. Again, our friends over at Bay Islands TV is streaming us. So we appreciate them doing that so that people can stay in contact with what's happening on our little islands. Okay. All right, very good. Let me just see who else is here for it. I see Miss Margie Brancroft. I don't think she's on the stream, but she's sharing. She likes to reshare a lot of like news stories and stuff like that. Anything else going on in the world? Just a reminder, there is a second group or option or whatever that the Ministry of the Ministry of Tourism in conjunction with the minister. They're doing another wave of stipends. So if you're in the tourism sector and you're unemployed, get on it, folks. Apply for your stipend. You can only be eligible, obviously, if you didn't apply the last time. So they're giving $1,000 per month for 3 months to kind of help you guys out. There is an application process. It's completely online, and you do need to complete and answer certain questions that are required. Now, keep in mind that you have to be a Caymanian. So I've got people messaging me like, what if I'm here on a work permit? Well, no, unfortunately, the government has made this for Caymanians only. There's also the small business loans. So those are the ones now where if you're a small or micro business, you can apply for those. There's been no set deadline for when that will cease, but you can get up to $3,000. Again, this is just a grant, so you don't have to pay this back or anything, but there is an application process that you have to go through. So we had Mr. Odell Suarez on the show. He is assisting people for a fee, obviously. I mean, it's his time, right? With your applications, where basically you just take him the documents that are required and he will put your application together. He fills out the application, he attaches the documents, he makes your case and make sure everything's completed correctly. And he will scan and email that application off to the division, the grant office that is handling those applications. So just a reminder, thank you so much for the reminder that the stipend, the tourism stipend, ends on August the 7th. So you've got to make sure that you apply in time, because if you miss the deadline this time around, you're going to just be out of luck, folks. So do not miss the deadline. So August the 7th, you've got about a week now to get on it and to do your thing. So Melita says he needs one of those old time ass things with a tamarind switch. I have personally never had one of those, but boy, that sounds just about probably what he needs. So Sue says, I wish that they were helping us retirees with our health insurance coverage. It's crazy, and the CUC builds. Well, wasn't Minister Donkey, Minister about the moon, wasn't he doing something about health insurance coverage? I can't remember. He might have been too busy trying to figure out the cycle of, whatever lunar season we were in. So several people have said that Trump's, I know we talked about this briefly last night, his desire or his idea to change the election day is hogwash. It's been that way since 1845, and Americans are saying they are not going to change it for the likes of Donald Trump. So there you have it. Just trying to see if there's anything else that we needed to discuss before calling it a day. So, of course, yesterday there was a record set. At least 150, now it's gone over 151,000 people in the US have died from the coronavirus, according to the latest numbers. They're now reaching about 1,000 deaths per day in the past week. Wow. It's crazy. So, of course, the South, including Florida and Texas, remain heavily hit by this pandemic. President Trump is trailing in the polls. It looks like he may lose the election, but you never know with Americans. So if you're to believe the polls, he is not doing well at this time. The U.S. economy output fell 9.5% in the second quarter, which is the biggest drop on record, folks. That translates to 32.9% annual rate of decline. It's being considered an unprecedented economic situation. So no bueno. So stay tuned. Some people in South Florida are getting prepared now for hurricane season after they saw this last one. Here's another Miami chiropractor who's been charged with federal fraud from Medicare to COVID-19 loans. These greedy people just don't want to leave the federal money alone. And, you know, like Marshall said, they always seem to get caught. And they're so brazen with it. You remember when, I don't know if you guys watch any celebrity or Real Housewives TV show, but remember Teresa Giudice, or whatever she calls her name, Giudice? Her and her husband both went to jail for doing this same sort of thing. They want all this big money. And in the States, you can apply for loans, but you got to be honest on your loan applications. And if you don't, then that is fraud. And that's exactly what they did. So they were applying for loans that they didn't qualify for, lying in the loan application so that they could get the money to live this lavish lifestyle. And unfortunately for her and Joe, she used to call her husband Juicy Joe. They're now going through a divorce. Unfortunately for them, you know, you're on national TV and everybody's seeing you all over the world living this lavish lifestyle. And people are going, how are you affording this exactly? How are you affording this 8,000 square foot house with like gold toilets and all this kind of stuff? So, you know, greed is the ruination of so many things around the world. Folks, that is the end of our program. Today is July the 31st again, and it's the last day of July. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. August, my favorite month, and it has nothing to do with the lunar eclipses in the lunar cycle, or sex craze, whatever. It just happens to be the month that I was born in and my daughter was born in. So I'm going to say August is the best month ever. And it starts tomorrow. It kicks off August the 1st. I wish you guys a beautiful and safe weekend. We will continue to bring you news here on CMR. I mean, folks, listen to me. We got political silly season coming up, and we're going to be knee deep in that hot mess. We're going to be talking to candidates, some new, some, you know, coming back, hoping to grab that seat again, some of the incumbents. And a lot of people will be voting along this, you know, this issue of the domestic partnership bill, which I think is so interesting. And we'll see how all of that flushes out. So we got a couple stories that are going to be going up. The accident from last night, not the accident, but the stabbing or assault incident is one of those. We're keeping an eye on some tech news. And of course, as we said, a young man passed away this morning. And there's a few other news stories that we are watching for you as developing news stories. So thank you, Sue, Janet. We will be posting some details on that. Let me see here. Thank you, Donovan. Donovan's joining us from New York as well. John, you have a beautiful day and a safe weekend. Rosanna, we asked that question this morning about the press briefing, and the response was, we don't know yet. So as soon as we know, we will post it on the page and inform all of you so that you can make sure that you tune in. All right, good people, be safe and have a wonderful and blessed day and a wonderful and safe weekend.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.